Guys, welcome back to Construct Your Life. This is Austin Linney here. It only took us 7 times to get this in. Maybe nine times with both of our schedules. Guys, I want to introduce you to the most attractive man in all of marketing, Mr. Ed Howie.
and to the best PR person in all of the interwebs, Austin Linney.
They call me the #1 hype man in the world. So
I'll take it. Everybody needs a hype man.
So guys, before we get started, I want to thank our sponsor, dreamchasers.com. Head on over to check out that podcast. So much great content. Thank you, Adam Carswell. But you know what? You are a very fascinating human being. We have a deep affiliation for each other. We have similar stories. We talk a lot about business, about life. You do marketing, you do all those things, but you do so many things. So I would like for you to start your story where you want to, and then we'll kind of go from there.
All right. Well, we have a lot of connections. So Ed Howie, business-wise, my main business enterprise is BTYcreative, and we're a strategic marketing and branding firm. About last 2.5 years, my team and I have been working on an additional medium, which is our YouTube podcast channel, which is How I Grow a Brand. We've got about 33 episodes, 34 episodes out there right now. It's not like anyone's like 167 podcast, but we're going to try to catch up with the man.
Actually, my 1-year anniversary for my first podcast is next Monday, and we will have released 187 podcasts.
You know, Austin, if you're going to do it, you're going to do it fully, right?
Yes, exactly.
So, oh my gosh. So our core business is strategic marketing branding firm. And basically I worked for big companies like Chick-fil-A and H-E-B, and really loved those organizations, those brands, and what I got to do. But what I realized as I got older, I realized that 1, I was an entrepreneur trying to be an employee. But then 2, I realized that I was really intrigued by the startup, the smaller companies, the rising companies. And as we would visit with them, especially at H-E-B, they would be telling me about what they're trying to do with their business or brand. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, 1, we want to sell their product or don't want to sell their product, but oh my gosh, they're about to do this and that's not going to work, or they're going to do this and it's going to blow up. And I realized that while I love billion-dollar brands, I really love privately held enterprises to where the owner is the leader is the owner, and it's really about doing all they can with what they have. So we've got BTYcreative, we got How We Grow a Brand. Would love for you to listen in, subscribe, of course. We got a website, edhowie.com. We'll have growing content for business marketing branding there. Let's see what else. Also, founding partner of a fast casual restaurant group in Atlanta called Gusto. We've got 7 locations.
So remind me, I got to introduce you to a guy.
I knew.
I gotta introduce you to a guy. He sold 1,200 franchises across the country. He's the man to know. His specialty is fast casual. I just had him on the podcast. I need to introduce you.
Awesome, yes. Perfect. Let's connect. You know, Austin, we share the several things, but one is the connectedness gene. And as a good friend of mine who also has that dominant gene, you know, she says, you know, it's like we're collectors of people, but in a good way.
Exactly.
So family-wise, married, 31 years, got a 26-year-old daughter, 22-year-old son. And what really led me from corporate America to this life I love is in 2003, my wife looked at me as the kids are in the back seat. We're driving back from North Carolina, where my family is from and where we vacation every year. My wife looks at me and says, "Are you happy?" And
wow.
I'm like, "With you?" And she said, being a West Texan, I better know the answer to that question. She said, "Are you happy at H-E-B?" H-E-B Grocery, at that point, I guess $17 billion privately held grocery store enterprise. If you're not from Texas, you may not have heard from them. And if you're in the industry, you've definitely heard from them. They're one of the nation's as well as world's leading retailers. Had an incredible team, incredible people, incredible products, incredible enterprise, but I wasn't happy. And my wife saw that. And there were 2 reasons why I wasn't happy, Austin. I know you know much of this story. One was that I was attracted into a marketing role, but 80% of my job had become operations. Now, I firmly believe that operations are the key and the magic to great marketing, great branding. But my world over the last 3 years had emerged from 80% marketing to 80% operations. And frankly, if I was going to do operations, I'd be wanting to doing that back at Chick-fil-A, which is what I did for the whole time I was there. I was like the closet marketer there. And then, but more importantly, what I realized through a conversation, and I meant to grab the books, but there was a book I was reading that had in my lap the exact same time Catherine asked me that question. And it was Now Discover Your Strengths by Marcus Buckingham. It's now referred to as Strengths Finder. Mm-hmm. But the principle of this book is that there are 34 core strengths. We each own 4 or 5 core strengths. And the better we order our world around those strengths, not only are we more effective, but we're happier. Mm-hmm. And so what's crazy is my wife and I have this conversation. I've got this book. This is back in 2003 before e-readers. So you like actually had to open the book and read it. And so driving down I-10, my wife has opened up the world by asking me the question, what would you do that would make you happy? And my first answer was, well, I like helping people sell stuff. She says, you want to be a salesman? And she knew the answer. I said, no. What I said was, I love helping people do all they can with what they have. And then she looked at me because she is definitely the pragmatic one. She said, so can we make money doing that? And about 24 hours later, after going through Strengths Finder and recognizing my 5 core strengths are ideation, strategic, winning others over, connectedness, and positivity. And I handed my wife, it gives you a little report. I handed my wife this Sunday night, 10:30. I'm about to go in the office, 5:30 the next morning. She reads it, says, well, they nailed you. What are you going to do about it? I said, I think we're starting our own business. She said, can we make money doing that? And I was like, I think so. Mm-hmm. And 24 hours later, I had my 1-page business plan. And that was that every element of your business either magnifies or detracts from your brand. And that there were companies that needed access to someone with ideas, strategicness, the ability to help win others over, understanding how things are connected, both literally and figuratively, and always infusing the environment with positive energy. And that was nearly 18 years ago.
There's so much there. I want to go in about.
We're not afraid to use many words, are we?
No, I want to go around in about 9 different ways, but I'm gonna revert back to something I heard about a month ago that I've asked every one of my coaching clients, anybody that I meet, and it was a conversation that too many people chase purpose and passion when they should truly chase what gives them energy. And so it was a simple question that your wife asked with a lot of answers.
Oh, yeah.
But ultimately, where I want to go with you is why, because that's not the case. Why were you so comfortable to just go, hey, I work for this great company that's always going to be growing, but I'm just like, hey, I'm just going to go do my thing? Was it the fact of I know your personality a little bit, so, and I know mine. Was there a little bit of a challenge going, I don't know how I'm going to figure this out, but I know it's going to be a fun ride. And here we are 18 years later. Or was it, I've just got to go do something that's for me?
I would actually say it was neither of those.
Okay.
What I would say is that, well, one, I'm a man of faith, and my faith really, it tries to guide me better than I allow it to guide me. Okay, put it that way. But it is a powerful. I have a powerful relationship, and so I really try to abide in my relationship with my God, and I try to literally be more aware of the ways He talks to me and talks to us than I tend to be, because I can come up with a great idea and I can get right into strategy and not necessarily read the room, if you will. So I would tell you that what happened in that, and this is a tremendous question, Austin, is that I had a clarity in that. First, my wife gave me permission to consider something differently because it was going to affect our world, not just my world. Now, what I didn't tell you when I was trying to use as few words as possible is that when my wife asked me that question, and she said, she basically said, "Are you happy?" And I said, after 5 minutes of silence, which you've already tell that's not my first response in life. After 5 minutes, I looked at her and said, "No, I'm not." And she said, "What are you going to do about it?" And I think that actually is so funny. I've never thought this way, Austin. I've always thought the question, "Are you happy?" was the most important question she's ever asked me. I would say the second question was even more important than the first. And that was, "What are you going to do about it?" Now, it wasn't, "What are we going to do about it?" Even though it was a collective response. It was, "If you're not happy, what are you going to do about it?" Now, my response was perhaps one of the top 5 moments in our matrimony, because my first response, being the just empathetic, passionate, supporting husband, was, "Well, what do you want me to do about it? You're not working, college, mortgage, insurance."
Yeah.
You know,
That's the answer.
That's the answer. But that was truly a real answer, because we had a great present opportunity with an incredible brand, one that was on my top 5 list of brands I wanted to ever work with, that I wrote 5 years into my career. And God allowed all that to happen in a way that I had nothing to do with starting, which was freaking amazing. But she gave me the permission to risk. She gave me the permission to explore, what would I do if I could do anything? And what's crazy is, and again, please do not take this as a prescription for anyone's life that's listening. Okay. This is a story. This is an illustration. Okay. Everything hit at the right time. But after having that conversation with her, thinking about what could I do, thinking about the fact that my business model was, I believe there were companies that needed access to people like me that didn't need them full time, and that they would pay me to have access to me. We started off as a one-man show, a one-person company. So when she said, "What are you going to do about it?" I had a decision to make. I was either going to settle for a path of unhappiness, which frankly, the things that were making me unhappy about it weren't probably going to change in the short term, or I could choose another path. And that's what we did. Now, let me tell you, Austin, what's crazy about it is I didn't do a proof model to check the logic of the hypothesis.
Yeah.
My model was, I knew how much income that we were making. I divided that number by 6 and was convinced that I could convince 6 people to hire me at X $1,000s a month faster than the cash would run out.
But I also, and maybe we don't do this these days, but I also think that somewhere the beauty in that whole thing is that you didn't have to proof the model, because you believed in yourself so much that you attracted the correct clients that you needed. And that's where the universe rewarded you in your own belief of yourself.
That is true, but it wasn't my own belief in my business model, even though I was very confident it was going to be successful. I didn't know how long it would take for it to be successful. What I was confident was, and what I told Catherine before we truly stepped off the ledge, which was literally 72 hours from the first conversation on this topic. By Monday night, I came in from work that Monday night. The conversation was on a Saturday. We were on vacation, Saturday, Sunday. Monday night is I told her this. I said, "Darling, if we do this, understand I will do what it takes to make money to provide for our family." And that was if I had to wait tables between client calls. Yeah. Now, there's a thing called Uber, but there was a thing before Uber called taxis. I literally said to her in 2003, if I have to drive a taxi at night, I'll drive a taxi. But if we believe this is the right thing to do, then we're going to go all in and we're going to make it happen. I wasn't necessarily confident in the business model. Like, I didn't have like a CPA proven formula, but I knew that I would figure out a way to generate revenue.
Well, put it, and I'll go a little deeper on that. too many times people, whether it be investing or a new business or whatever that sector is that they're going in after, I believe that the ultimate human being is not truly all in. I believe that the reason that they're not getting the things that they want out of their business is because they're not all the way in.
Yeah, I firmly agree with that. And, I'm horrible at like mixing up other people's words, but there's an analogy or a metaphor or story or whatever, like burn the boats.
Yes, I've done that. Yes.
You've heard that? Okay.
Yeah.
I will tell you that, like, maybe if I'd said, "Hey, honey, let's burn the boats," we would have been a little less excited about it.
Yeah.
But that's reality what we did. I mean, we burned the boats. And again, my confidence was not only in my just determination to make it work. It was more that I was going to make something work, if not that. And I think that's where, these great questions. I think that's where some people fail, don't you? Is that they think that, oh my gosh, I have to make this work.
Well,
this is wrong.
Well, that's my theory, is that people live their life on absolutes too much. And it doesn't allow for wonder and for other things to come involved. When you say, this is the only thing I'm supposed to do, this is the only way. I've already played that game. This is the business that's going to save my life. Oh shit, I lost $26,000.
Yeah.
Like, but hey, guess what? Now we step into this new business, which I'll talk to you about. Something just came up in my head that you're going to help us with. But now I'm prepared because I did take that chance over here, and that business allowed me to leave the restaurant business. Right.
That's right.
So like, hey, great. And those business partners were sober and in recovery, which allowed me to get sober. So I will literally lose that $26,000 over and over and over again, because look what the life that it's given me now. And too many times people don't understand that it's just this and this and one step further and one step further. And you never know, because there's a report out. I read a couple of months ago that the new millennials will have 19 careers before they're dead.
Yeah.
So if you say, hey, I'm only going to be a CPA my whole life, like that sounds like a really boring life to me. Like I love multiple things. I love other things. And so I have a question for you. As you sit today with a highly profitable business and you're invested in some other companies, what would you tell that Ed on a Monday night about starting his own business?
I would say, first and foremost, if you don't understand the principle of cash flow, you will die. I mean, literally, I am not a CPA and I'm not a CFO and I am not like, I'm not a real estate investor guru. I've got some friends that are, where how the numbers work and you can understand how buying this thing for $400,000, and all this guys said this rent and all that kind of stuff. Now, someone explains it to me, I can understand it, but my brain doesn't necessarily go that way. What I do know is that you have to spend less money than you have coming in. And I do know that you have to project out not only what you think you're going to charge, the revenue, but you have to map out when you actually think you're going to get the cash, because a sale in January doesn't generate cash in January. However, if every client has to agree to a net 10 terms, which is not the way our industry works, it helps. If you do everything flat rate versus hourly, which is how our industry typically works, we don't do that. It's flat rate, and you pay when you start, and you pay progression. We learned that cash flow was key for us, and it's key for every single player around the table. So you figure out a business deal that is cash flow attractive to the key players as a winning formulation. So first, I would say cash flow. Okay. Second is what I wish I had thought about more. And I was pretty good at this, but I got better, is that not every customer is a good customer. Not every client's a good client. Now, I don't mean ethically. I mean, frankly, when you're in your business, if you go in business with someone who's unethically matched to you, that was your decision. That's all on you, baby. So I started this business because I wanted to choose who I would work with internally, who my team would be, and choose who we got to work with from a standpoint of customer client standpoint. And so, especially early on, I would say I would remind myself that not every customer is a good customer, and you better choose your customers wisely. And I do believe when you own your own business, you choose your own customers, you choose your own business people. And then the third thing I would say, which is what an icon in the advertising industry shared with me, he started his own firm in Dallas, Texas, back in the 80s. He started in his garage. And I had the opportunity to sit down with him in his office in a really big tower in Dallas, 7 hours into my first day of independence. It was literally the first day I'd opened my company. A good friend of mine at HEB had worked out the conversation, and he said, you better choose now if you're going to accept the job offer for the client who tries to hire you to work for them because you're so good. Because you're either doing this as a transition in your career or you're starting a business enterprise, and you better decide right now whether this is a career transition or a business enterprise. And I looked at him and said, hands down, business enterprise. And that's exactly what we've done.
How's everybody doing, guys? I want to talk today about our sponsor for May. You know, a good friend of mine, Mark Simpson, runs a company, boostly.co.uk. Guys, everybody knows that I'm in the short-term rental space for many years. And I think one of the quotes he said to me was, you can't build your real estate on somebody else's property. And it really resonated with me because we are so reliant on an Airbnb, a HomeAway, these systems, right? And headed into this year, it's very important that we get direct bookings, and they're the best in the business at this. So in 2021, everybody needs to be building a website to create direct bookings, and you can't rely on Airbnb. Plus, you're giving them a ton of money. And so 64% of all the websites are powered by WordPress, and these private message companies that offer you the free website, they're not on WordPress. And so it's this trick that they're doing. And, you know, these guys are the best in the business, the best in the world. And I'm not just saying that because I use them. I'm saying that because they are. It's the simple fact is that they service over 600 clients worldwide, and you need to get this done. And you can get it started for as little as $99 a month. And you could do that with one property, 100 properties, but you need to be capturing emails. You need to be sending direct marketing back to these guests. And the way to do that is to create a website. And these guys are the best in the business. When you get direct bookings, you're saving money every year, and the profit margins can be exponential. And so if you want to learn more about them, head on over to boostly.co.uk/constructyourlife. Not only is Mark a great entrepreneur and CEO, but he's a great person as well. Wow. That's a really powerful question.
It is. Because you know what? The first 3 months you think are tough. Wait to month 16, baby.
Yeah.
Wait to month 18 when that little cash that you moved out of the tax payment is over here because you didn't really think that accrual needed to be that big, or the person who you thought was such a solid human being is actually a big old turd, and you've got to adjust. You know, I think the second 12 months of a new business are much harder than the first 12 months. Mm-hmm. And that's when, to your point, you're either all in or not.
Well, I put it in this context, right? And look, we don't need to dive into all my shit, but like, you know, getting laid off. Well,
We've done it before. We'll do that again, right?
But yeah, but what I'm saying is, it's like getting laid off from private equity, losing 26 grand in the business. Like my 2 years, my two years and, you know, I guess it'd be 3 years now, maybe 2 years of leaving the restaurant business has not been great. Like I'm not like, but what's the option? Like, am I going to go be a perfume salesman at Abercrombie & Fitch? Like, no, I can't work for anybody else. And now we're at the precipice of these amazing opportunities with great human beings to launch a company that's already launched, but launching next week, that is a need that America needs, doing business with highly professional masters in their craft. And the missing piece was the mouth of the South. Like the missing piece was Austin just gets to focus on marketing and sales. Yep. Austin just gets to talk to people, but he doesn't have to build shit. Oh, awesome. He never has to look at a spreadsheet. Great. Like we all think that we've waited our whole life for this opportunity, right? And we see it and people see it too. But what people don't see is the 38 years of alcoholism and drug addiction and lost businesses and failed marriages and everything that gave me the opportunity to be so ready and not scared at all when you're taking on VC money and you're taking on this, because I don't care anymore. Because I've been through the fire, same as you. And it's like, okay, we're just going to fix it.
Well, and that's so true, because it's like, whether it be recovery from alcoholism or whether it be recovery from a broken relationship or a financial poor decision or a personal poor decision, the world tells us that there's so much strength in like the go for it and the energy and the endurance and all that kind of stuff. But what I have found is that the strength comes in the recovery, not the go for itness. That your go for itness is actually empowered by your recovery. And so, maybe the burn the boats. Please don't title this conversation that. But it is kind of like that. Are you like all in or not? And I don't mean all in like stupidly naive.
Yeah.
All right. Because there's some stupidly naive people and business decisions that are made because it just looked enchanting or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, more like if you feel the affirmation that this is the right venture, being all in. I think the deal is, though, that, to your point, what am I going to do? Go back and be the perfume salesman at Abercrombie and Fitch? Well, I was going to say you got to have abs to do that. Well,
I'm working on it. Damn it.
You got abs, brother. 75 hard, 2 times, all that stuff. That being said, is that I do believe that, especially if you're someone right now that's listening to this, that is trying to decide if you want to start your own venture or be a part of someone else's venture, that it is very difficult to ever work for someone else again once you've had and done and led your own enterprise. And it's really funny. A mentor of mine had an opportunity to work on several projects with former CEO of Texas Instruments. He looked at me across the table in one meeting and looked at me and said, "I sure am glad you never were my employee."
Yeah.
And he was an entrepreneurial executive, but he said, "You're just such an entrepreneur." And what does that mean? I think it means that we're not as inclined to see the boundaries and the barriers. We're more inclined to see the opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what you have seen through the 3 years that you've been through and all the ups and downs. The reality is that, they're your ups and they're your downs, your ups, your downs. And if they're going to be solved, you're the only one that can solve them. Right?
Yeah, because ultimately, think about it from this context to take it in a whole different direction on going out on your own or being all in on yourself. Mm-hmm. The problem that people can't go all in on themselves and their opportunities because they don't even know what that looks like.
Yeah,
they haven't worked on themselves long enough because they're still predicating and making decisions based off of triggered emotions from a childhood instead of actually doing work on themselves. Going out to the fucking desert in Joshua Tree by yourself and digging down and crying and writing shit out and leaving this comfortable relationship, this comfortable job because they're so working. So they don't even, so half of my coaching clients, all we're doing is I destroy them for like a month and just like beat them up and make them ask tough questions. And then we rebuild them. As we call it in my business, there's a dirty ass windshield full of bugs and mud and everything. And all I'm there to do is to clean it off. Mm-hmm. There's nothing that I'm doing for my clients that is supernatural. I'm literally awakening the beast that's inside of them that everybody has, but is so covered up with somebody else's views on what they should be doing.
Oh yeah. I mean, and I don't think there's like a magical age. I started to say that I'm glad. Well, let me say for myself, and let me think about this. 2003, 37. I always have to add up my age. 36. Is that right? Yeah, 36. Okay, so I was 36 years old when I resigned from HEB. 2 young kids. Again, we've already talked about the mortgage and college stuff. And I did not think as much, oh my gosh, is this decision with this business plan? I did not do a 30-year projection to determine that this decision and in this business plan was going to take me to age 66 in retirement.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that was wise or not. I definitely walked away from a pension, which, even looking back at what that pension would have been 18 years later, I'm happy to not have that cash, because even though I have less cash in many ways doing what I'm doing, the trade-offs 10 times stronger than just cash. So while cash flow is important, there's more to life than cash flow. But this whole notion of, well, let me say it this way. I'm glad I was not 26 when I did this.
Yeah.
Because the wisdom, the experience, the exposure, the vulnerability to myself and knowing what I could do and couldn't do, it just wasn't fully recognized. And so I do agree. I love the analogy of cleaning off the windshield. Is whether you're working and love your corporate career right now, whether you're starting your own business, whether you're running your business, I got to tell you, if the windshield is dirty, your view is shitty. Yeah. And I don't use profanity much, but
yeah, well,
we all got to take care of our windshields. That's for sure.
You know what's the secret weapon to life is? It's really fucking simple. Like everybody wants to predicate. I've talked to people all around the world, high level coaches. It's really simple. Self-awareness.
Oh yeah.
That's it.
Well, and that's why
we're not perfect, but always correcting. Yeah.
So, I really need an affiliate code for StrengthsFinder, because I swear I've built.
Hey, by the way, I'm digging into this affiliate marketing. I can totally help you out. I just
let's do it.
Yeah.
Gallup, give me a call. So the self-awareness, that is exactly what was the impetus for the decision, because Catherine asked me the question, I'm reading the book, and what I'm realizing that corporate America had been lying to me. What corporate America had been telling me was that, Ed, you're good at, once a year annual review. Ed, you're good at these 3 things, but Peter's good at these 3 things. And if you want to be competitive when the next promotion to the next level comes up, you better work on these 3 things, because Peter may beat you to that next level because he's got these 3 things. Well, you know what? Peter is gifted in these 3 things, or Peter's passion or energy comes from these 3 things. And Ed's passion comes from these 3 things. My 5 core strengths: ideation, strategic, winning others over, connectedness, positivity. Okay. What I realized is what HEB hired in 2000 as director of food service marketing. I went back and looked at my notes from every single interview I was in. They hired ideation, strategic, winning others over, connectedness, and positivity. They wanted that energy brought into the environment. The role demanded much more operational focus than probably anyone really fully understood. And I can do that. But man, it wears me out. It does not create joy. It does not create energy. And so I was able to reset my environment to where I'm in the land of ideation and strategicness, strategy, or whatever the word is. Well, and, and that is that awareness you're talking. Now, forget all the personal stuff and the things that catch me up and the things that I just do stupidly, all that. That's a whole nother issue. But if you don't understand how I believe you're God designed to exist and what gifts you bring to the world, then you don't have the self-awareness. How do you know what you're going to be able to create an enterprise around? Because it has to be around your strengths, right?
People ask me all the time, how the hell do you do everything that you do? Like, how do you have like multiple businesses? And I was like, what you don't
How do you work
get.
out at 4:40 every morning, right?
Yeah. I said, well, what you get is I'm not running those businesses. Like, I'm not running those fucking businesses. And if I was running those businesses, we would all be broke. Like, because that's not my thing. But guess what? And I'm not saying it from a place of ego. I really believe that I'm one of the best networkers that exist on the planet. Like, I really do believe that. And so if that's the case, and that's my job, is to create winning relationships,
Yep.
well, then you have the secret weapon. Look, I tell everybody, this is the truth. When I was alcoholic and everything, I was a missile that splashed down in the ocean. Now I'm a fucking guided missile. And I know exactly what I'm supposed to do, when I'm supposed to do it. And because you're creating the space necessary to understand what you're good at. And the moment I put down trying to be the spreadsheet guy, the tax code guy, I became lighter.
Yep.
But in the same time that I was doing that, I also let go of the limiting beliefs of who I needed to be. Instead, I only feed who I want to be.
Well, and the limiting beliefs, I think, is a tremendous exercise. It's a tremendous realization. What are the things that are going to limit your success? So, one of the things that I did not realize until 3 years ago, the how do I do, because I get that question a lot. I teach indoor cycling. I mean, it's what every 54-year-old should do. I teach at 5:30 in the morning. On Wednesday mornings, we do a drill class, and Fridays we do a hill class. And I get this same, like, either it's like, why, or is how. And so I've got this word right here, and this word is stewardship. And through an exercise with some incredible humans in Nashville with Brand Builders Group, Rory and AJ and Elle and Kristen went through an exercise 2.5 years ago, which was really like a self-awareness. It was like breaking me down into what my brand is. And the exercise led me to answer 2 questions: is what problems do I solve? And what solution do I bring? Well, I realized that the problem that I solve in the world is not branding. The problem I solve is I have this incredible disdain for commodities. And commodities are, I believe, products and people that bring no differentiated value to the world, either because they don't recognize it, or they can't, or they choose not to. And therefore, they're interchangeable. You really don't care what farmer brought you the corn that you buy in the produce section at your grocery store, for the most part. But man, if they'll mix olive oil and spices and freeze it and put it in a microwave bag and only give you a half of an ear in a plastic bag in the freezer and call it organic and charge you $4.40, you'll be really happy when you microwave it in 3 minutes. Okay. And so I don't want to be corn. I don't want to be a commodity. Well, so I thought, the solution to not being a commodity, to not being interchangeable, that solution is, branding. Well, no, it's not branding. Branding is a tool device. What the solution is, and this is exactly what we're talking about, is owning your stewardship. And what stewardship is doing all you can with all that you have today. And that is exactly the question my wife asked me, the second question in 2003. Not, are you happy? Because, we can all whine, right? What are you going to do about it? And what I was going to do about it was, I want the rest of my life to be that I help enable those that are around me to do all they can with what they have. And frankly, to enjoy every moment of it. Because I believe the reward for incredible stewardship of your time is joy. And joy is not situational. It's not circumstantial. It is joy that, Austin, I give you a hard time, and we're both kind of some of this way. I haven't done 75 hard, but we do work out a lot. And a lot of times it's before 6 a.m. in the morning. Right. And I can tell you that I am not joyful every single time the alarm goes off at 4:30. You know, that's what people think. Oh, now, I mean, usually within 5 minutes, I'm game on, you know. I have never regretted finishing a workout at 6:20 in the morning. Never regretted it. Never regretted it. Because it's one of the most selfish things I do in my life. But I do it to fuel everything else.
Dude.
And so that oh my gosh, that
I call it putting on your own armor before you go out in the world.
totally. It's like, you know what? Bring it on, baby.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny. This morning, I intentionally didn't work out. I intentionally set my alarm for 6:30. And I intentionally, as a buddy of mine calls stewed in bed, you know, like when you wake up, but you don't get out of bed and you check your phone or you just lay there. And, you know, I stewed for 30 minutes intentionally. And it felt good. But then I came to the office, got my calendar out and booked a workout for the rest of the week and put on the calendar. Because that was good. Balance is good.
Yeah, balance is great. And it's hard. Yeah.
But tomorrow morning, you know, 4:40 is game on.
Yeah. And it's the same concept of people need to stop saying they had a bad day. You had a bad hour or two.
Yeah.
Like if your kid came home and you got to hang out with your kid, how can you label that as a bad day? So let's change the way we talk about it. Let's change the conversation. Like, hey, I just didn't work out today. Tomorrow we're going to get back after it. You know, that is
it's okay. So Catherine looked at me and she's like the wisdom whisperer. I read a book. Let's see, is it here? Yeah, actually. So two of my teammates told me my assignment over Christmas was to read this book. It doesn't have to be crazy at work.
I love it already.
It's written by the two guys that created Basecamp, which is a project management platform.
I read one of their books about them. Yes.
Yeah. So you probably read Rework.
Yes, I did.
Yes. And that is actually what helped me restructure my whole business model and my company organization 12, 13 years ago. So, all right. So this book. So my mission after reading this book was that 2021 is going to be Ed's year of calm. Okay. And just like silence is not my first response, calm is definitely not my first response.
It's crazy. You want to know a funny thing? My theme for this year is emotional stability.
I love it. Exactly. Because, you know, we can attract the crazy, can't we? We can create
I attract all the crazy.
Well, you know, it's funny. I was reading the book over Christmas and it was just like soothing, and not soothing like simple, but soothing like, you know what? I do want to go for that. And so I asked Catherine, I said, so what is the one word? She didn't know. I'd actually taken the cover off the book when I was reading it. So she hadn't even seen really what I was reading. I said, what word or words do I use to most describe my day? And she looked at me and said, crazy. I was like, what do you mean? She said, I'll ask you, how's your day? You said, you'll go crazy. It was crazy. I was like, really? She said, yeah, pretty much. I stopped asking as frequently because it's always crazy. So I don't always know if it's a good crazy or bad crazy, but crazy is a word. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to describe my enterprise as crazy. Now I'll tell you, we have modified it, is that, and it kind of comes back to the principle of stewardship. Instead of my word just being calm, my word is calm efficiency. And that is really optimization. It really is stewardship. Is I want us to calmly do the right thing at the right time.
Yes.
And it's so much this year, for many reasons, even with a bunch of stuff that's been unexpected still, you choose to go into your day with calm. To your point, you choose to not have a bad day, but maybe recognize it was a bad meeting. If that's what it was, actually, was it really a bad meeting? Mm-hmm. You know, or I got some bad news or whatever. Why should the franticness of working on this, of jumping on a call at 10:55 before I had to call 11, that does not define the day. That defines the moment. It's a good day today. How about you?
It's a great day. I have a guy who has like tons of houses, like 3 different businesses. He answers his email from 6:30 in the morning to 8 o'clock in the morning, and then doesn't check it for 24 hours.
Yeah.
And he believes that there's no actual emergencies in life. He had a house burned down and he didn't find out for 2 days. And he goes, what do you want me to do? Do I look like a fucking fireman? Like there's nothing I can control about that. And so the insurance is going to pay for it. And we're going to move on about our day. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Like nobody was hurt. Like, but people create these emergencies and shit. It's like, whatever, dude. Like Aubrey Marcus was talking to Ed Milet, and he goes, listen, you could not eat for 3 days and you could die, but it's still your choice. People are living their life like they don't have a choice in the matter. It's unacceptable. Yeah. Everything's a choice.
Yeah.
And you can choose how to react to it. You can choose how to operate in it. And that's why I love the Stoic philosophy. And that's what we're studying. That's what the other podcast is just keeping that neutral way of thinking and just dealing with it and celebrating the small wins and so on. But I want to respect your time.
I love this.
And we're going to have a little form conversation about what I think is I don't know if anybody's ever asked you this. Listen, you're very good looking. You're very young, but you're, a CEO of a profitable business. And you didn't need to start a podcast. You didn't need to do all these things. So 2 questions I want to ask, and you can answer them in the same thing. Okay. Why did you feel it necessary to spend the time and effort in this new modern age that we're in? And then the second, actually, there's 3 questions. What have you got out of it that you didn't know? And then more importantly, what would be your advice to somebody who's in your role that's kind of doesn't maybe want to do the technology stuff and kind of like scared of like putting themselves out there?
Wow.
There's a lot there. Yeah.
I know that could be a whole conversation there. So I believe it's really weird because when I start talking about this, I get emotional, but I also get like very cautious. And someone once said that, not acknowledging your strengths is not being humble, is being disgenuine. Okay. So I believe one of the ways I'm gifted is to inspire joy in others. And just like in a billable hour situation, your time is only limited to how many billables you can have in that hour. Is that if my only relationship with people is one-on-one, then I am not going to be able to hopefully inspire as many people as perhaps I could by having a way to inspire more than through one-on-one. So originally the goal remains that I want to be invited to speak to groups in person, virtually, whatever, and share my message with the goal that their day is better because they spent time with me. Okay. Yeah. That their life is better, their hope is better, their strength is better, their joy is better, that they walk away with some insight into their life that can make things better than they were, and they can do more than what they have. So I realized that my goal is not to be a top podcast. My goal is not to be a top keynoter. My goal, our business goal, the big sign hanging in front of, well, it's actually right here on my iPad. Our mission is to inspire a million joys. Inspire a million joys. If my Peter always gets mad when I like block the microphone. So inspire a million joys. I mean, that is our guiding force. The podcast, the YouTube channel, Howie Grow a Brand. We'd love for you to watch and subscribe. That is literally a mechanism to do that.
Yeah.
And the reason being is that I believe we as a world, especially over the last 12, 13, 14 months during the pandemic, is that we are not designed to be isolated. We are designed to be just fully attached. And I believe that the more isolated we become as a business owner, as a venture capitalist, as an investor, whatever, the harder it is for joy to get in. And so if I can inspire joy in people that feel detached, feel isolated, feel misunderstood, feel like hopeless, that they actually are me, whatever it may be, is that we believe that having a YouTube channel is a way to touch more lives than I could one-on-one. Now, there's a monetary model to it, but thankfully, that monetary model is not what's driving it, because if it was, we would have shut it down.
Yeah.
It's not cheap. It's not easy. We built a studio. We've got equipment. But I believe that, I'll say it a different way. I've been affirmed through other people that when people get to spend time with me, they leave inspired.
Mm-hmm.
And there is poor stewardship if I don't do all I can to be a positive part of as many people's lives as possible. Did I answer all those questions?
Yeah, there's a unique yin and yang that's going on with my one-on-one coaching clients. But in theory, for me and the legacy I want to leave, it doesn't allow me to create impact at scale.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we have the same thing. That's why I'm writing a book currently. It's going to be out this summer.
Yep.
School, so I can go speak on stage.
Yeah.
That's why I have mastermind events, so I can create what I call a ripple effect of impact.
Right. Well, and I would tell you that, when I stopped drinking almost 15 years ago, there was a lot of stigmatism. There still is around that. And so also, you know what, if people seeing the way we choose to attempt to more positively manage our life, give someone hope that they don't have to allow something that is holding a power over them to keep that power hold on them, then, I mean, that makes it as much worthwhile as any kind of commercial thing. So, I believe, growing up in Sunday school, this little light of mine, I got to let it shine. I believe we all have a light and we're all called to let it shine. It doesn't mean everyone needs a podcast or everyone needs a YouTube channel, whatever. Sometimes it's just the way you choose to treat the next person who checks you out at the convenience store.
By you not sharing it, selfish.
I believe it is. But it's not about,
not in a bad way. Yeah, not in a bad way.
Stewardship is not about comparing yourself to someone else. It's comparing yourself to the opportunities you've been given.
Okay. In that vein, you'll love this, and we'll get out of here. Ed Milet, who I love, who speaks all the time, said that he believes this is exactly how it's going down. Okay. He believes, and the reason he's in a crisis to get to the next best version of himself every day is he believes when he's done and he walks off this earth, the version of himself that God created, the greatest, best version of himself, he believes that he's going to walk up to that version, and he wants that version of himself to go, well played. Well played.
That is, yeah. Well, the notion, the principle, the verse, whatever you want to call it, of when we get to heaven and we're met as well done, good and faithful steward. That's what stewardship is that did you do all you could with what you had when you had it? And what I have today is not what I had 10 years ago. Some of it's better, some of it's worse. But the reality is that, if anything, the last year has shown us that, what we got today is, if you have any question about the lack of what tomorrow is guaranteed, think back. We're talking right now, March 29th, 2021, right?
Yeah.
Think back to March 29th, 2020. You can't see it, but there's a board to my right where I went through every single revenue source for my business and gave it a plus, minus, arrow down, arrow up, and try to project what was going to happen to our client's business and thus our business over the next 3 months. And you know what? While the prescription was about 85% right, the way we got there is not where we were on April 20th sure wasn't what I thought on March 29th, right? So you know what? Things are getting better, that's for sure. But tomorrow is no more guaranteed tomorrow than it was a year ago. So what are you going to do about it?
100%. And I'm reading this thing. It says, be fearless in the pursuit of what sets your soul on fire. And the question that Ed will ask you is, we don't care what your thoughts are. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, that is.
I love that. I love your wife even more for that, because that's a very simple. That's a simple question with about 30 veins of responses that it could have gone in many different directions. And so, if people want to find out more about your company, your podcast, how would they do that?
Certainly. So podcast, How We Grow a Brand. It is a YouTube-centric podcast. So it's more like a TV show because I always want to be a morning host. And so How We Grow a Brand, you can subscribe, watch. We've got some great episodes there. Some are guest driven, some are just me sharing. It's available on your podcast. Our edhowie.com. If you're looking for inspiration, information on how to better lead, guide your brand message. And then our enterprise, our business is BTYcreative. BTYcreative, by the way, stands for Be True You, which the best branding is when it's true. So, and then if you want to check out some great restaurants in Atlanta, Gusto restaurants in Atlanta, our Instagram is What's Your Gusto, and it's a phenomenal fast casual concept. Nate Hibble, founder, my business partner, and doing some great things in the world of food and service to others. So that's me.
I love it. Guys, if you like this episode, make sure you send it out to your friends, and we'll see you next time.
No doubt. Austin, see you in person soon.
Yes, sir.